Hello everyone. Before we get started today, I wanted to let you know, especially if you are one of my loyal listeners that is looking for a little bit more, I've created a paid subscription option for the podcast for 99 pence per month. On top of this being ad-free and just purely being the essence of the episodes, I will be doing bonus episodes, some personal update episodes, and we'll also include any information, invites into any virtual workshops or online things that I do in the future. So if you fancy it, check out the show notes below with the link and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Self-Improvement Project. I hope you're all well. If you are in a country where the seasons are changing, please make sure you look after yourself, look after your health, take your vitamins, get your sleep, wrap up warm. There's nothing worse than when the seasons change that you don't look after yourself. So make sure you prioritize that at the moment, as well as trying to keep up all the great work that you are probably doing as well. Today's episode is called Starting Over. The perspective and situation I want you guys to think of when you're listening to this today is when you have a few things that you just want to tweak, but you almost want a fresh start. Sometimes this happens after a few months, sometimes it happens after a few years. But there are these times where we want to implement new things that are going to make our lives better. Sometimes it can be a case of removing certain things from our life as well, things that we are maybe leaning on, using as a crutch, or things that we are starting to notice that makes us dislike ourselves a little bit more, and we're wanting to almost get out of that situation as well. So I just want to talk to you guys today a little bit about the process of that, what we can do, and what to be aware of during this as well. Because you will have done it before, perhaps successfully. You will have done it before, perhaps unsuccessfully as well. But it's all about how in the future can you use this to benefit you whenever you are starting something new. So, when we are starting over, whether it's a new habit, a new behaviour as such, the source of this usually comes from some sort of resentment or frustration that exists in our lives. Now, as negatively connotated these feelings can be, there's actually some really good awareness happening within you when this happens. There's an awareness of something that usually is blind to us. And the fact that you are highlighting this as something that you resent or are frustrated by shows fantastic character on your part. However, this is perhaps the easiest thing or the easiest stage of starting over, because this stage can almost be on a loop if we don't follow through or if we don't make meaningful and sustainable change. We sometimes end up slumping back to where we were and finding ourselves even more frustrated and perhaps having even more resentment there as well. So let's use an example of perhaps diet or fitness. And this is quite a common one because this can change week on week. You could have a weekend where you eat loads of rubbish and don't exercise and you just feel pretty crap because of that. And then you have this awareness of it's your diet that is making you unhappy, causing you this frustration, and you're aware that that's the thing that you need to change. And how this usually goes is that on Monday, you're going to have a really healthy breakfast and you're going to have a salad for lunch and for dinner. And this is where the sustainability collapses, because there's something that I'll touch on in a little bit, but there's almost this initial motivation, like that slap in the face that we sometimes need to wake up to our lives. But it dissipates like that type of motivation usually does. This extrinsic motivation. I want to be healthy so that I look really healthy to everybody else. And that's perhaps the motivation behind why we want to change our diet. And if we look better, we'll feel better, etc., etc. Now, instead of me talking about discipline here when it comes to this diet, where we have a really good start on Monday, but then by Thursday we're tucking into some of our usual snacks. Instead of talking about discipline and pain here, that I have talked about in a positive manner quite recently, but here I don't want to encourage this self-discipline just yet. What I think is really important at this stage where we're making some change and starting over something afresh is almost an element of rest and resetting. Now, through rest, I don't mean completely doing nothing. I mean resting and giving yourself a break from the hedonic cycle of your life. You might work 5 days a week, have your weekend to de-stress, and then you're back on the bike. This rest is important for processing. Rest can sometimes be the opposite of doing nothing. It can be doing brand new things. It can be resetting our neurological systems when it comes to what we're doing. Whenever you join a new club, or if you live somewhere different, or you make new friends, there's new networks being created in your brain that are stimulating, waking you up because you've not used them in a while. And because they're fresh, they're brand new. And rest can, or this can be a form of rest. This can be a form of processing for you and allowing you to reset and essentially start over. In the grand scheme of this entire focus around diet, this is maybe a welcome distraction from it. Perhaps you're wanting to work on diet, but maybe you should try some new exercise that is going to light you up and motivate you, that will stack on top of your already existing motivation around your diet. Perhaps there's other positive things that you could start to implement into your life that, again, would stack and build this foundation for you to start over from as well. If you just have this tunnel vision on this one thing, it's very difficult to achieve because everything is based on that. It's very extreme success or failure. So there's an element of rest that needs to exist through novelty, through new things, through different things, through mixing up our routine in order for everything to rest, reset, and start over. Essentially, like I say, this is a processing stage for you when it comes to starting over with new behaviours and new habits. And I've touched a little bit on motivation so far, especially in that first instance when you're motivated to change. However, this is where your extrinsic motivation comes into play and then falls off a cliff when you can't keep up the self-discipline because it doesn't truly matter to you. What does matter to you is intrinsic motivation. It's your identity, it's your why. And this is where starting over, after we get past the frustration and resentment and awareness, and then get past the rest, the resetting and the processing, we then get onto that identity stage. So when it comes to, now remember, the focus here is diet, the eating healthily, maybe not eating processed foods, etc. We're also adding all these other things like exercise and new clubs and new socializing to our plate. And we're creating someone new. We're creating a new identity. And when we're starting over with things, we do need to permanently evolve our identity through this. And this is where, if you are not intrinsically motivated within yourself to change your identity when starting over this new habit or behavior, it will never last. If you are passionate about becoming someone new, exploring those circles, excited by this new life that will allow you to live more positively and enjoyably, this identity will help you maintain these habits and behaviors from starting over. So there are layers to this starting over process, and it's important that you go through each one to create that sustainability and completely evolve into this new element of your identity that will be created from this. And that's us today. I hope that has made some sort of sense to you today, or even just provoked a little bit of thought around, if you are at a stage of wanting to start over with something, this might give you a helping hand into that process as well. So as always, write to me if that helps, or if you have any thoughts or anything else that you would add to that mixture that I've created to help when we start over with new habits and new behaviours. But otherwise, I will see you all next time. Cheers. Hey guys, me again. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and if you're not ready for the Becoming Unstuck in 30 Days self-led course quite yet, why don't you try my free ebook I created? 5 simple steps to improve yourself and your life. I made this during the very first lockdown of the pandemic, in the early days of the self-improvement project. It's a quick go-to when you're feeling unsure what to work on when improving yourself or your lifestyle. And the great starting point if you're trying to figure out how to live a more fulfilling and simple life. The link for this will be in the show notes for you. Have a good one.